Good day, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Awesome Life Podcast. I'm Kathryn Stultz of Awesome Life Success, your host. As a former people pleaser and self-doubter, I'm now a six-figure mindset mentor. Coaches and healers hire me to really solve the urgent and painful and expensive problems that clients are struggling with, and they just don't know how to solve, no matter how many things they have tried. And of course, that's why we have the podcast, so that I can help you with other experts out there to help solve your problems. Now, there are 7 pillars to having an awesome life. The first pillar is awareness. And awareness is an absolute key. It is, awesome actually is an acronym that stands for awareness, wellness, energy, success, organization, money, and enjoyment. So with awesome, we start with awareness and we have enjoyment. Those two are the main things to keep in mind. The rest we can play with along the way as to how to find that awareness and how to find that enjoyment. Unfortunately, most women are not aware that things are possible for them. So on this podcast, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to share my awesome guests and their wisdom to help support our listeners with the tools and the possibilities and the resources to have an awesome life. And today, my guest is Kathryn Samuelson. Kathryn is a former attorney and is now enjoying and making an awesome living sharing her gifts. She felt a call to explore the spiritual and metaphysical areas quite a while ago, and she delved even more deeply into this world after moving to Massachusetts, practicing and honing her skills doing channeled angel readings. She became certified as a life coach at the University of New Hampshire's Professional Development Program in 2007. Kathryn has been doing readings and coaching ever since. She blends her experience of listening and questioning skills, all that she's learned through her practice of law with her years of working with angels and guides, to provide a safe and non-judgmental space in which to work with clients. Today, we're going to be talking about clarifying your path and purpose in times of uncertainty. So Kathryn, welcome. It is awesome to connect with you again. And for our listeners, full disclosure, Kathryn and I have talked before. I always have a conversation before my amazing guests come on here. And so I am really excited to have you here today to share your great wisdom. And tell me more, though. I love your title, but tell me more. Are we in a time of uncertainty? And is there really a way to create awesome clarity?
I would say yes to both of those. And it's great to be here, Kathryn. You know, I enjoyed our previous interaction. It was wonderful. We're in a pandemic. We don't know when it's going to end. We know it's going to end. I'm convinced it's going to end. I mean, the pandemic in 1918 ended. You know, eventually the Great Plague ended. But the uncertainties, we don't know when. We don't know what's going to happen with our family and friends. So things are a bit chaotic. And for some of us, well, we won't go to the political.
Well,
but there's a number of reasons that there's uncertainty. I have a neighbor 2 doors down who found out that the new owner of her company is going to cut her salary an enormous amount come July.
Wow.
So we talked about some things that I thought, you know, I just volunteered. I said, you know, this is what I've been thinking. And she was like, right there, I'm already on it. You know, so you can plan, you can look ahead for yourself. You may not be able to take on planning for the world. You're not necessarily called to.
Well,
So
yeah, but it is, when it comes right down to it, we can only control ourselves, right?
right.
And
And
therefore,
sometimes when we go through change and transformation, it changes how things react, how things are around us.
Mhm.
I worked in a job that was just draining. And I finally said to myself, I cannot change them, but I can change how I react to them. Because I really like the
get rid of
work.
the reaction and create a response, because the reaction is kind of a, but a response, oh, okay, I get that. I know what I'm going to do. Yeah.
And I started using some metaphysical tools, which I created to keep their crappy energy away from me.
So what kind of tools would you use? My goodness. Yeah.
Well, I spread sea salt in my office to absorb energies. I imagine glowing white pentagrams. Excuse me, dry throat.
Yeah. It's interesting. All our energy work we require, all people with all people are made up of energy, and we need that liquid to re-energize us.
Life.
To life. I love it.
So there's things that you can do to figure out where you want to be. And I'm sure you do that with your clients. What is your goal? I have a long-term life coaching client, and every once in a while I say to her, this is not meant to be a long-term relationship. You have to have a new goal. And once you come up with a goal, you can help the client figure out the steps to get there.
There you go. So it's a case of finding solutions.
Yeah.
Moving them ahead towards a solution. Goals are things that you create to try and achieve, but it's not the end.
No, there's the steps to it.
Yeah, and moving forward, right?
But I think one of the big things that we do as coaches is convince people to give themselves a break. Yes, you did not make your step that you wanted to make by last Thursday, but your mother was ill, or the refrigerator broke down, or, life interferes, and the point is that you don't give up on that step. It just means you're going to accomplish it a little later than you thought you were.
So give yourself permission to not to let it go. Give yourself permission to let it go.
Yeah.
And in the awesome, enjoyment is the last thing. And that's basically celebrate what you did accomplish, so that you can continue to move forward. And
that's part of what we do as coaches, is point out, you accomplished this. This is a big deal.
Yeah. So how does the metaphysical work help with that?
They're often separate channeled angel readings, but also I find, maybe because I'm a life coach, sometimes the angels get life coachy. Or I might, in the middle with a particular client who's more open to it, stop and say, let's ask the angels.
Okay. So do you tell me more. I don't even know what to ask at that point. Yeah.
I also think that working with them gives me the instinct that I need when I'm being a life coach, doing the life coaching. But they really are, in some ways, very different. And the channel angel readings are often more an occasional thing, whereas, as you know, life coaching is a regular relationship. But I use what's called automatic writing, and most psychics have a different way that I call a gateway into the information. And automatic writing is that for me. I take the pen in hand. Well, I don't use a pen anymore because they scribble over and over in the same spot. So even I can't read it. But that's how I open up myself to saying, okay, I want to work with you. And they just come in and they provide the guidance. And one of the things I try to remember to say is, this is guidance. You have to choose what you're going to do. And if it's about health, feel free, of course, because I'm not a doctor, to check with a healthcare professional.
Mm-hmm.
So even like with the life coaching, it's up to the client to make a decision about what to do.
Yeah. It's always up to the client, isn't it? It's a choice.
Yes.
We always have choice. And no matter what the angels or our guides or our coach tells us to do, we have the choice to accept or reject that idea.
And how much progress you make depends on the work that you, the client, put into it. I once did a consultation with a woman who wanted me to guarantee her a result in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I can't do that because it depends on the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard from her again.
Yeah. Well, you can guarantee the result if they do the work. Yeah. But if they don't do the work, you can't guarantee the result. So it is.
Right.
It's all up to them, right? And take the responsibility and know that we can carry on from there. Now, you do some. Do you do dream work in your metaphysical work?
If someone asks about a dream, we can ask for guidance about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the answer is yes. Not directly me, because dream images are so individual. I know there are dream books that say, if you see a white horse, it means this, but it might not for that person. Yeah. And I have on occasion consulted someone else. What do you think this, what do they say about this meditation image or this dream image? Because I do consult other people from time to time because I'm too close to myself.
Yeah. Everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a coach. Mm-hmm. I mean, the most amazing billion-dollar coaches need a coach, and they have them.
The best psychologists have people they consult.
Exactly. Everybody needs somebody. And that's not just...
Is there a song like that?
Hmm?
Isn't there a song like that?
Absolutely. And it isn't just the relationship. It is, romantic relationship. Exactly. That's what the song's about. But everybody does need somebody. Oh, is it Barbara Streisand, I think. People need people. They're the luckiest people in the world. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was drafting my March newsletter today, and it was about joining voices and joining together. Because you can find validation, you can find support. And I think that's part of what we do as coaches is we provide people validation. We're cheerleaders. Yeah. We also, on occasion, nag. Now, remember that thing you said you were going to do? What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
In a nice way,
Exactly. And, I look at it as a coach is somebody who believes in you more than you do.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an excellent way to put it.
And if you don't believe in yourself, a coach can help you do that. And I know that's what you do. And you use your channeled angel readings. Now, you said you did automatic writing, which is basically opening up, if I understood correctly, it's kind of opening up your channels for them to be able to download. Is
right? And they just take over and they write.
Okay. But you said, how do you do it if you don't do it with a pen? Do you do it with a pencil?
I use something. Actually, I use a chopstick.
Oh, so how do you read it? How do you read it?
I don't, because it comes into my head when they're writing it.
I see. Oh, that's very interesting.
Like
Yeah,
I said,
and
it's my gateway. And I got that term. Sally Kempton has a book called Meditation for the Love of It. And she talks about meditators can have a different gateway into meditation, and that can change over time. So there are those in the psychic business who use tarot cards, they use psychometry, which for people who don't know, they hold an object that the person owns, like a wristwatch, a necklace, a ring.
Okay, and what is that term again?
Psychometry.
Psychometry. Interesting. Okay.
There are people who douse, they do pendulums, to get information. I have a friend who says that most people are AM, FM, but some of us are privileged to be broadband.
I love that. I love
So it's like tapping into the information that's out there in the universe. I have semi-quantum physics explanation for it, which is we're all bundles of energy, packets and combinations of energy. And quantum physicists, some of them are proposing that the universe is a grid. And not only that, Barbara Brown Taylor, who is an author, theologian, and former seminary teacher, talks about the luminous web that holds everything together. So I envision each of us as like a node point on this luminous web, and that energy and information through the energy is just whizzing around. And so some of us are able to open up and tap into that energy.
And you obviously have. Now, I wonder, do you think that you were an attorney at one point in your life before you went into the angel readings and the life coaching? Do you think that had any influence on you?
I think what it does is you have to learn to listen. You have to learn pertinent questions. You learn to kind of turn things and look at them from different perspectives. And be persistent.
That's cool. So yeah, and that also, as it's coming to me, I watch a lot of law shows on TV. Not a lawyer myself, but a law shows on TV.
I don't.
And it is it's all in how the question is asked, what kind of answer you get. And I expect that being an attorney does help create.
And what's the story? What's the story here?
Yeah.
When I was doing my practicum, we had to, find practicum clients. And so somebody said they would like to do that. And she sat down and said X, Y, and Z, and everybody's telling me I can't do this, X, Y, and Z. And the truth is she might not have been able to do that, but she was so bound up in the story that other people were telling her that I looked at her and said, well, why not? And she told me that broke everything open.
Isn't that something?
It's just knowing the question,
the right
to ask.
time and the right question. Yeah, that's great.
And some of this again is going back to, I think, even though I'm not sitting there going, okay, I'm working with you right now, angels and guides. I think the instinct still comes through, the intuition has come in more.
Yeah, the angels and guides, I guess I like to think of them as, well, guides for sure. But it does allow you to be able to open up your intuition to a much greater extent, probably. Do you think that is what makes you so different than other coaches?
I think it's a very unique combination. There may be somebody else out there who has the same background, but I would say it's not common. So I think it does. And you also learn as a lawyer to not react to people, to like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And people will say to me, I have a weird question. And I'm like, You're talking to a psychic. There are no weird questions. But also, I think it helps me set boundaries, because occasionally I have to say, I'm sorry, you'll need to ask someone else about this. I mean, that happened recently because somebody was going on and on about something, and I just said, you know, because I try to put my own belief system out of the way. Because, you know, everybody has a belief system, even psychics. And if you don't learn to become neutral and put it out of the way, there's only been, I think one occasion I thought, I know what I'm going to tell this woman, even if the guidance is different. Because what she wants to do is really not good. But fortunately, they agreed with me.
Oh, that's very helpful. But again, without your putting it out there with the intuition, with the psychic ability, and I think most coaches have that intuition if they're good. They have that intuition, but you have that extra validation, I guess, that what you're coming through is the right thing for that person. And that comes through when you are with a client, I think. And it's important as a coach to recognize that we don't know it all.
Oh, yeah. As a reader, it's important to know that you don't know it all.
So being able to express that and honor it. And when you do have that intuition, that inkling, to have the courage, and it does take courage to express that as well. To say, you know what?
Yeah, this isn't for me. I can't help you with this. It may go back to, I had to learn, my second job as a lawyer was as an assistant city attorney. And I learned to look at police officers and say, no, you can't do that. And they're the ones with the guns, They go, oh, okay. No.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to learn creative solutions to things. Like the time I sent a letter to an insurance adjuster who wouldn't come look at the fire truck that was torn apart at the fire department because somebody put sand or sugar in the tank. And it was, gee, we're sorry you can't fit us into your schedule, but we'll be glad to deliver the parts to you. He was there the next day. I had no intention of delivering the parts to him. So I think I try to bring that creativity to the life coaching as well.
Yeah. And that's huge. That's huge. Yeah. There's always a solution if people are open to it. And with your gifts, you can see that solution and make that suggestion. Like, hey,
yes,
even if he had not been there the next day, you might not have had any intention, but that was a solution. And if it had been another week, you could have said, all right, we're shipping those to them. I told them we're following through. It's all about the follow through. Yeah.
But fortunately, we didn't have to get to that point. But it's also, I took an adult art class when I still lived in Massachusetts, and the teacher was so encouraging. But she would come by and she goes, well, let's turn it this other direction and look at it from this other angle. And I think I took that on board. As a reinforcement from what I'd learned as a lawyer. You look at it from all the angles.
Yeah. Yeah. Play devil's advocate, I always call it. Look at it from a different.
Yeah, and the other thing is to help people change their story, the language they use to describe themselves and what happens to them. Like I can't. Well, what's the reason you can't? What would happen if you did?
What if you could?
what if you could? And why was that stupid? It just was something that happened, you know, and I've had to do that with myself. You know, you know, for a long time.
In that non-judgmental way.
Yeah, like
you were, yeah, no judgment, just a curiosity of why can't, yeah. And you do that for yourself as well, you said?
Oh yeah, I think that's where I learned it. You know, and a lot of maybe some of the homework I give are things that I've done. You know, because I know they work for me, so there's a chance that it will work for someone else.
Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't have to be hard.
No.
Only as hard as we make it.
You know, and if somebody's resistant to something, then, you know, it's like, well, maybe you need to explore why you're resistant to this. I'm also not afraid to say,
yeah,
you know, I'm here to support you, but this is an issue I can't help you with. I think you should talk about this with a therapist. You know?
Yeah.
And one time in a reading, somebody described the situation. And I said, well, I think you really need to see a lawyer. And I think these are the minimum questions that you need to ask. But I was not in a position to act as lawyer for this person.
That's wonderful. That really is wonderful to have that resource in you as a coach, past attorney and present, and a conduit for their guides and angels. I love that. I love that.
I do too. I really enjoy helping people be able to transform their lives.
And it's so hard though in today's world to not have judgment. I mean, we as coaches can say, well, you know, we're not judging you, but what do you do personally to get into that zone of no judgment for a client or an acquaintance even?
I think I try to listen, see what their perspective is, and then just lead them through whatever they need to go through to get where they need to go. A lot of it's sometimes just listening, sometimes joking and laughing with them. You know, we're human, we can have fun at this.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be totally
That's great.
Serious.
And it shouldn't be. You got to be able to have fun. Fun is number one in my world.
Of awesome, right? It's the enjoyment part of awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. The enjoyment part of awesome. It's celebrate, have fun in some way. And celebrating, of course, is not necessarily going out and spending a lot of money, but enjoy, compliment you, pat yourself on the back for what you did accomplish, and maybe get up and dance a little bit, get that energy going in your body, right? You know,
take a walk in nature. Just whatever brings you happiness.
That's right. That's right. Find that joy in whatever area it might be, besides sitting down and just watching TV. That's probably not the best way to celebrate. But upon occasion,
unless it's a really good Shakespeare movie or something,
upon occasion it is, absolutely. And in the evening, I have to say, that's what my husband and I do. We just sit down and just say, all right, had a great day, nice to be together, and we watch a good show together. Yeah.
And that's great, but you're not spending all your time doing that either.
No, exactly. And finding something good. So how would your sessions go with a client? What would you do with a client to help them start moving towards their success?
Well, a lot of talking to them, figuring out what they want,
Mhm.
you know, and usually at the end of a session, it's like, okay, it seems like you know, this would be a good, these 3 or 4 or 5 things would be good for you to accomplish till the next session. And the way I operate is we have sessions based on the person's ability to fit it in, and also their financial situation.
Mhm.
I don't aspire to have people with Oprah's income. You know, I want to be able to help the person who can't afford the high-end coach. And so if they can only afford once a month, that's what we do. And I tell them, okay, we can do this, but it's just going to take you longer to get where you're going.
Mhm.
You know, but if you get so you need something in between, we can set it up. Because I don't want them to be pressured,
Mhm.
because then
Yeah.
you can become resistant. And a lot of it is talking and checking in, you know, what did you accomplish? How did you feel about that? You know, and listening to what they want to celebrate. I
Yeah.
really got this done. You know, I had trouble with this, and, you know, bit by bit. So, and I mean, I have a client who was on her way to try to get to Machu Picchu. Well, guess what? Life interfered, you know? So it's like supporting, you know, that can happen someday. You
Yeah,
just
it
can't
doesn't
do it.
mean that it's gone forever. It just is not attainable at this moment in time.
Right. And
But
when it was more attainable, it was like, what are you doing to prepare physically?
Yeah.
To climb that mountain? Because she was going to do the hike up instead of the bus up.
uh-huh.
It's like, you need to get your hiking shoes. You need to get them in shape. You know, it's like, you probably should have 2 hiking poles and make them telescoping so you can put them in your bag. So figuring out things that you would actually need for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oftentimes we don't even recognize what we do need in order to create and manifest our desires, and that is where you can come in and help with that. Yeah.
And even if you and I don't know what those things are, we could possibly figure out and suggest, oh, well, maybe you should research this to see, you know, is there a site that tells you, you know, the minimum stuff that you need if you're going to go visit Machu Picchu.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can do this. You can find this out.
Absolutely. That's great. So we're coming to the close here, but before we go, I understand you have an offer for our listeners.
Yes. If they let me know they've seen this podcast, and through the next 2 months, what day is this going to be on?
It probably the first week in March.
Then if they say they saw me with you, then they get 20% off a reading. But it's good through the end of April.
Okay, so 20% off a reading until the end of April. And do you have a set fee for your readings?
Yes, it's $60 for half an hour, $90 for 45 minutes, or $120 for an hour.
Great. So it's 20% off. So everybody who is here listening, contact Kathryn Samuelson, and be sure to mention Awesome Life Podcast and get 20% off. That is great, Kathryn. Thank you so much. And how can people get in touch with you?
Well, my website is KathrynSamuelson.com, and it's KathrynSamuelson, or they can email me at klsamuelson@yahoo.com.
klsamuelson@yahoo.com. Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
This has been great, Karen. Thank you so much for letting me do this.
Oh, I am thrilled. I'm thrilled that you reached out, and old friend, this is the first time we've actually seen each other, but we've had some wonderful conversations on the telephone. So I can attest, she does a remarkable job. There's no question about it, even if it's just over the telephone and not on Zoom. But I think being able to see somebody is very, very nice. And if you're listening to this podcast, be sure to go over to our conversations on YouTube so you can see how wonderful and amazing Katheryn Samuelson is, KatherynSamuelson.com. And thank you so much. It has been an absolute joy having you here today. The Awesome Life podcast is hosted on KarenStultz.com/podcast. That's KarenStultz.com/podcast. And that can be found on all the major podcast platforms. And you can watch us on YouTube again. And be sure to like and share and subscribe and do all of those good things so that we can reach more people in the world with this podcast, because I have the best guests, and Katheryn is just another one of my most wonderful guests. I love doing this. So that is at KarenStultz.com/conversations. So be sure to subscribe there, and you'll get notified anytime we get new podcasts up. I don't do them on a regular basis at this moment because it's got to be fun. Fun is number one. So until the next time, have an awesome, awesome life. It is your birthright. Remember that. And whatever you do, be kind and have fun. Thank you, Katheryn.
Thank you, Karen.
Bye-bye for now.